Hello, welcome to Chat UTD. This is my reaction to yesterday's defeat against Brighton. I'm going to start with some perspective, start with a positive perspective. Um, we we tried to control the game in the first half. I think we visibly looked to play with intent to control possession, to take the sting out of the game, to probe, to be patient, to look at ball retention, to be quite considered on the ball. It looked a bit clumsy, it looked a bit laboured because we haven't really got the players to play that way, but there's a purposeful intent to do what the manager's asking, I believe. And we might disagree with the fact that we don't want United to play that way, but the manager is the manager, and he's been here for 2 years, and I see no positive stamp that he's put on this team in terms of his style of play, and that has to start changing. And maybe it's a direction from above as well now that we want to become more of a possession-based team, more of um, a team that kind of plays through the lines and plays with a higher line. It's hard to do that when you've got Maguire. Um, but there's an intent to do something different in the first half, at least. And what that meant was we didn't have those massive, great chasms in the team where they're just running through the middle of us. Certainly not in the first half, anyway. The next thing we probably need to do is graduate towards it being a bit more cohesive and a bit more flowing and fluid, and start to make more chances playing that way, which I'm not sure we've got the players to do, but at least there was that intent to try and make that happen, or play that purposeful, specific type of football that we were playing. We scored a fantastic second goal, which was so unfortunate to be chalked off. The ball's going in the net anyway. Xerxes makes no difference to it whatsoever. It's a travesty, but by the letter of the law, it has to be disallowed, and that's a big moment in the game. So that's another kind of positive perspective. We were really unlucky there. And another perspective is just being realistic. This is the same team that lost 14 games last season, that finished eighth, that imploded in injury time and lost loads of points through conceding really late goals. It's a team that were in front in injury time one time last season and lost the game in injury time despite being in front. Um, the only new starter yesterday was Mazraoui, and would he make a game-changing difference to that team ahead of Wan-Bissaka, who would have been there instead? Not really. So the only new player we had starting was him. So I don't know why we expect anything different from the same players. Um, we're going to lose games. We're an average team. We've got a soft underbelly. We can't concentrate for the allotted amount of time, in particular in injury time. We know all that, so I don't know why we expect anything different. Doesn't mean we can't be frustrated about it, of course. But within those limiting circumstances, and that we haven't got the players we need, we haven't made the changes we needed to make, you can still, I think, negate some of those flaws that we've got and accentuate your positives through decisions that are made by both people on the pitch, but of course the manager and the coaching staff. I don't understand bringing Bruno off when he brought him off. Never brings Bruno off. And at that point in the game, we were counter-attacking quite readily. He was a focal point of that. He's our talismanic figure. He's the captain. He scores goals. He assists goals. He's our most creative talent. And with Mount already off the pitch, it was just very, very strange. Don't understand why he did that. And a big criticism I had of the manager last year was that when other teams were getting momentum in games last season and they were just cutting through us at will, the manager and the players and the coaching staff just seemed powerless to know what to do to change it. It just kept happening until they scored. And whilst for the majority of the game yesterday that wasn't the case, in the key moment at the end, that came from pressure that we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to stop it. So in the 87th minute, their manager, who's 31 years old, really inexperienced, has looked at the game and thought, right, I can make 3 really positive subs and go for it here. They scored in the 95th minute, so that's 8 minutes later. And in that 8-minute period, it was basically attack versus defence. There was warning after warning after warning that the goal was coming. It looked inevitable. And again, the players, the coaching staff and the manager looked powerless to know what to do to change that. It just felt so inevitable. And in the end, obviously, they score. Now, people have said, United got stung because they were going for it. We were going for it probably until Bruno got brought off. But really, if you look at that from those subs coming on, it was attack versus defence. We didn't get stung because we were going for it. We got stung because we didn't know how to stop the momentum shift that had happened in the game. We didn't know how to negate what they'd done. The manager just stood clueless on the sidelines, barking who knows what at the players. I know there's been a lot of heavy criticism for the second goal, and when you slow it down, it's not a good look. But I would have to defend the team a little bit in that it's really amateur, it's really schoolboy. But I will always praise intent, and they're trying to get out there to stop it at source. And because so many of them are doing the same thing, they've left 3 players free at the back post, and obviously one of them scores. If they block the ball, if they manage to make an interception, we're all lauding it and saying they put the bodies on the line for the cause. So it's fine lines in football. But I think I'm more concerned by the fact that you could see it coming, and the team and the players, the managers, and the coaching staff just didn't seem to know what to do to stem that tide, and that's a real concern because that's what he's paid to do. I almost don't want to talk about it for fear of sounding like I'm picking on the lad, and I can't abide people being picked on and being character assassinated. But I have to say it, and I have to be honest, and I have to be truthful, and it's going to be very harsh and very critical. But I am 100% that Rashford's got something written into his contract around game time. It's the only explanation as to why he's playing so many minutes. It can't be on merit. Ten Hag can't be looking at Rashford and saying his attributes, his skill set is pivotal to this team. There's 2 big problems with the amount of playing time he's getting. One, he offers absolutely nothing to the team. He's not scoring, he's not assisting, he misses easy chances when he gets them. He's not very good with his passing's very hit and miss. He doesn't fit into what Ten Hag's really trying to do. His application is poor, his body language is bad, he doesn't run, he doesn't chase balls, he doesn't track back, he's not aggressive enough. He doesn't look to have any rapport or connection with the players around him. He's a complete disconnect from the rest of the team. He goes and stands out on the left-hand side, and when he gets the ball, he just does his own thing. More often than not, that just means he runs into trouble. Does have a good relationship with Shaw, I think, and he's been missing, but nonetheless, Shaw's not there. So you've got to build connections with people around you. There's none of those little slick 1-2s or, where you see, you can tell they've got a really good natural connection with each other. There's none of that with him. So he's offering nothing. Even when he's not playing that badly, he's still offering nothing to the team. The second big problem is there's better alternatives to him. And everyone knows it. Garnacho's got to play in the team, and Ahmad's got to play in the team, so Rashford has to be on the bench. And even Rashford's supporters and people who, really love the lad, they'd have to admit he shouldn't be in the team at the moment. So it has to be called out, because we're not good enough to be carrying passengers. United without Marcus Rashford aren't a very good team. We're an average team. You take him out of it, we're not going to suddenly start winning every week. But when you've got a pretty average team, you certainly can't be carrying a player who offers as little as he offers. And this has been going on for 5 years. He was untouchable under Solskjaer, and he's untouchable now. And people, he's been in bad form for a year. He hasn't been in bad form for a year. He's been in bad form for 4 out of 5. It's not form. It's just not a very good player. And it's 4 out of 5 years. He's been really poor. Cost us in the Europa League final. Can't stand Pogba, but Pogba had been playing pretty well in Rashford's position, scoring quite a few goals and making things happen. Probably one of his better spells when he was at United. And Solskjaer bottled it, because he had to shoehorn Rashford into the team. He played Pogba deeper in midfield, who was completely ineffective. It meant we had no one on the bench to come on and make an impact, because Rashford should have been that player. The game petered out, we lost on penalties. So it seems the needs of Marcus Rashford are greater than the needs of the club. And that's what gets my goat. I wouldn't have a massive problem, as I've said before, if he was a squad player on 120 grand, 150 grand a week, if he's stealing a living. But the club have made this problem. They've made him untouchable. They've made him their poster boy on stupid money that he doesn't deserve. And Ineos talk about elite, an elite culture. How can you have an elite culture when you've got a player who clearly has something written into his contract about playing time regardless of performance? You could say, well, they've inherited that contract. They didn't give him that contract. So what do they do about it? They sell him. And I've long since said I'd snap your hand off for anything more than 50 million for Rashford. To be completely honest with you, I'd snap your hand off for anything more than 30 because that's what he's worth. And I don't want to sound like I'm being overly harsh on the lad. But what does he give or offer that's more than that of a £30 million player? Genuine question. But United probably wouldn't entertain offers any lower than 80 or 100. So it's a massive issue. And as I said, we're not good enough to be carrying players. And also what you're going to have is disgruntled players who are better than he is, like Garnacho. And rightly so. He'd be well within his rights to be disgruntled as well. So he's not the only issue we've got, obviously. You've got to play your best team, and he's not. We're not good enough to not play our best team, and he's not. He shouldn't be in the team. It's absurd. So moving forward, I can see that the team is trying to do things a little bit different. I can see that we're not as open as we were. We're not conceding as many shots. We are trying to perhaps negate that through keeping the ball, that problem of conceding too many shots. We're negating that by ball retention and being a bit more considered and stuff like that. We still look at our best on the counter-attack because this team is a counter-attacking team, because the players are counter-attacking players. We haven't made the changes we needed to make in the summer to do what Ten Hag wants to do. And the games, I believe, this season will be nip and tuck. Most games will be. Whoever we're playing, I don't see it being that different to last season because the team's the same. And you've got to play your best team. So I think as always when United lose, you get this, a big overreaction from some people, but I think, as I said at the start, perspective is important. But not enough's changed to make this team much better than it was last season. And I think yesterday was a little bit symbolic of that, despite the fact that we were perhaps a little bit unfortunate, particularly with the disallowed goal. But we still conceded late in the day. And I think symbolically, for the team, that would have been a big point to get. If we hung on, because we were hanging on, if we hung on, I don't want to see them walking off giving each other high fives and all that kind of caper after getting a draw at Brighton, because back in the day that would have been a poor result. But we've got a pretty poor record at Brighton. They're all over us. We've been behind in the game, we've come back. You get a point and you go, right, decent point that. We've got 4 points out of 6, which is about right for a team trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve, which is probably top 6. People are talking about top 4, but even top 4, you win your home games, you draw your away games, you're not going to go too far wrong. And we go into Liverpool going, all right, 4 points out of 6, decent. You lose the game, and you lose the games in those circumstances, and it's a kick to the nuts, isn't it? So now we've got 3 points, only one less point, but I think symbolically it's a big, big blow for the team. Let's hope we get Ugarte in. I don't think he's like the saving light for United by any means, but we clearly need more players. We clearly need to get rid of more players. And next week's a big week in that respect, I think. We'll see, won't we? You might be looking at what I'm wearing and go, don't you end your videos with glazers out and without, well, remaining my diplomacy, remaining discreet, I will just say the Glazers received no money for this shirt. Glazers out.